Hey, pretty lady. How about her? Spoilers! Welcome to the channel, I'm Hayes, I talk movies all day, so subscribe right now if you want to be entertained. And today, I want to talk about Captain Marvel, the first MCU movie to feature a female superhero lead, because it's not like Black Widow hadn't been waiting for 9 years already. But anyway, I'm going to tell you why this movie is trash, and then at the end, drop a few final thoughts. So the movie starts off with a tribute to Stan Lee. Oh, flippin' hell. How am I supposed to talk shit about this movie now? Alright, give me a second. Okay, here we go. So Viz wakes up bleeding blue, surrounded by wreckage as a Skrull soldier points a gun at her, and then she wakes up again, into what I assume is the real world, but there was no spinning totem, so who knows? Anyway, she goes to find the handsome man and tells him she can't sleep, and he doesn't take that as an invitation to shag. I mean, I know they ain't earthlings, but someone comes knocking on your door at demon time talking about, I can't sleep, unless it's a family member? Just saying. Certain things are universal. But anyway, the thing is, Viz tells young Rock she can't sleep when she just woke up. So
that was a fucking lie.
Also, why are they sparring at stupid o'clock when they both just woke up? This seems like a terrible idea. Like, maybe they should just talk instead, or put Citizen Kane on. That would knock you right out. Viz goes to see the Supreme Intelligence, who takes a form of the person Viz most admires, which is the lady in her dream at the beginning, but Viz doesn't remember who she is, which makes no sense. How could she be the person Viz most admires if she has no memory of her? Whatever feelings Viz has for the mystery woman buried deep down in her subconscious, if those feelings cannot be recalled, Viz cannot admire her. But if the Supreme Intelligence can access a deep down forgotten image of her memory, then surely Mrs. Intelligence can also access who the mystery woman is, right? These kind of walking scenes look really cool on camera, but I ain't too sure it works here. I mean, look at their formation. Their spread is wider than the door they came out of, but they're not that far from it, which means they would have been in a different position when inside the corridor, then right when the camera cuts, all of a sudden, they're in bird formation? Nah, that ain't adding up. Minerva is in sniper position, but shouldn't she be laying prone for a steadier shot? I mean, I ain't no shooting expert or nothing, but Gemma Chan looks like she prepared for the role by playing Widowmaker on Overwatch. Anyway, fake Atlas tells Minerva not to shoot, and since Minerva don't know he's a fake, she doesn't shoot. But in the time it took Minerva to realize he is a fake Atlas could have killed her, or knocked her out, or at least given her a bogus order to go back to the ship. Literally just stood there like, my work here is done. So it turns out the whole time the Skrulls were imitating the villagers, but at no point do they attempt to get the drop on the Kree. Or if the Skrulls don't want to fight, then they could have used that time to walk away from the danger. Either way, that's twice the Skrulls have wasted a perfectly good opportunity to get the upper hand. So in the kerfuffle, Viz finds Fake Solar. Fake Solar zaps Viz and reveals himself to be the Skrull leader, Talos, and jumps into her mind. Here's the thing, if the Skrull already got to Solar, then they really had no business staying on Torfa, unless of course they wanted to kill off the Kree boys, and if that's the case, then how did every single one of them manage to screw that up? Furthermore, when Viz asks Talos how he knew the code, Talos says, I'll tell you my secret when you tell me yours. So, did he know that Viz was secretly the star of the movie and accessed their brain to find out more about her? Maybe. But probably not, unless the Kree are letting it be known that they found someone with suppressed memories and gave them superpowers, and they're probably not doing that, which means the Skrulls are probably just jumping into random people's brains hoping they got something in there about Dr. Lawson. Now of course it could be that when the Skrulls caught Solar and jumped into his head, they found something in there that suggested Viz has her own secrets, but then when they sent a fake distress signal, there's no way the Skrulls would know which team the Kree would send. Plus, when the Kree got to Torfa, there's no way the Skrulls would know that Viz would go into the cave after Solar. So whichever way you look at it, the Skrulls did not have a plan. They got lucky. Also, Dr. Lawson is the person that Viz sees when going to see the Supreme Intelligence, but can't recall who she is. So the Skrulls, who so far have been shown to be bare incompetent, were able to do more with Veers' forgotten memories in 4 minutes than the Kree were able to do in way more than 4 minutes. Also, Veers should be smiling while they ransack her mind and replay traumatic memories. It seems just not believable otherwise. Anyway, it turns out Veers is strong enough to break free but not strong enough to beat anybody to death. Or why is Veers pulling punches? They knocked her out, invaded her mind, plus they're literally the enemy. Why is she not killing them? Or at least kill their boss? Everybody just letting people live for no other reason than they signed a multi-movie contract. Veers steals an escape pod and crash lands on C-53. And of all the places on C-53, she crash lands in a Blockbuster video store. I mean, you could have just put 1995 on the screen. I think blockbusters are about to have enough problems without having to worry about whether their insurance covers people crashing through the roof from outer space. Or maybe that's what really started their problems in the first place. Huh. Anyway, Veers crashes through the roof and high-fives the floor with the back of her head. So why isn't she smiling? Veers should be smiling to really sell that she's in some kind of discomfort. So the Skrulls followed Veers to C-53 and shapeshifted into humans to fit in. Taylor sends Skrull member number 3 shapeshift into the same person and Taylor says, "This one's taken." Thing is, the people they change into are still alive. So what difference does it make if 2 or more of them look the same? At least in this case, they're not going to be hanging around with the friends of the girl they changed into. Also, when they shapeshift, their clothes change as well, but when they die, they change back, but their clothes don't. Now, they don't program their clothes separately to change, they do it all just by thinking it, which means their clothes has to be connected to the parts of them that enables shapeshifting, so their clothes should also change back when they die. Side note, people always debate who the strongest Marvel superhero is. This proves that it's Captain Marvel. Do you have any idea how indestructible the Game Boy was? And she just opened one up and took out its parts to make an intergalactic phone call? Captain Marvel, easily the strongest Avenger, no question. So when Veers calls Young Rock, he issues a verification challenge and Veers responds. Veers then tells him that the Skrulls knew Solar's code and messed with their mind. It's exactly this point Young Rock should be questioned if indeed he really is talking to Veers. So when Veers was talking to the security guard, she asked him if he understood her, if a universal translator was working, which would suggest that Veers is actually speaking another language, but her universal translator makes it so the security guard hears English. First of all, how does it know which language to translate to? Like, if Veers crash landed in Bangladesh, would it know to translate to Bengali? Because if the universal translator knows where it is, then Veers really didn't need to ask the security guard if they're on C-53. And B, if Veers is speaking another language, when Fury showed her his ID card, how was Veers able to read his name is Fury? Do they speak English on Hala? Or does the universal translator manipulate written text as well? And if it does, then there's gotta be a massive margin for error, and as such, should probably check that his name is indeed Fury and not Fura or something. Also, speaking of the universal translator, let's assume it has a GPS thingy that lets it know which parts of the galaxy it's in and translates accordingly. What happens if, say, it's in Spain, but you're trying to speak to a British expat? Does it still translate to Spanish because it's in Spain? Or does it read the other person's mind and know it should translate to gibberish instead? Also, this is 1995, so if anyone is still wondering what happened to Jules Winfield after he decided to walk the earth, there you go. Also, when Fury asks to see Veers' ID, Veers said they don't carry their ID on little cards. Thing is, he asks to see ID. Whether it's on a little card or not is irrelevant. Are you dumb? Also, if they don't carry ID on little cards, then how do they identify themselves to people who don't know their challenge responses? They just say their name and you just gotta believe all women? Seems like an easily abusable system.
Trust me, true believer. Trust me.
You know what? Can't lie, this is actually my favourite Stan Lee cameo. Damn near shed a tear the first time I saw it, especially as this was the first MCU movie released after he passed away, and Mallrats was one of my favourite movies back then as well. But here's the thing, I know Mallrats wasn't some big budget Hollywood blockbuster type movie, but surely they could have paid for Stan Lee to get a cab. I mean, $6 million movie and you really couldn't spare like $50 for a senior citizen to travel more comfortably? Shame on you, Kevin Smith. Shame on you. So Veers punched an old woman in the face because she spotted she was one of the Skrulls. Now the way Veers spotted she was one of the Skrulls is because she bumped into the original old lady before getting on the train. But a few things. The Skrull guy actually saw Veers bump into the old lady, so why still choose the same person to shapeshift into? Are you dumb? Also, did not nobody on the train notice the surfer dude change into an old lady? Because apparently the shape-shifting isn't a discrete process. Also, Viz bumped into the original old lady, but how did she know the one on the train was the Skrull? What if the Skrull already changed into the old lady and walked off the train, which is really what he should have done? Just saying, maybe check a few things before you punch an old lady in the face. Furthermore, after Viz punched the old lady in the face, nobody did anything. No one came to help, no one said nothing, no one tried to intervene until the old lady started fighting back. And at that point, why are you trying to be all big macho man stepping in to save the day when it's clear you're not needed? Sit down, man. And why isn't Viz smiling while a bunch of people try to hold her back? I'm just not believing that she wants to struggle free, you know? So it turns out that Agent Coulson that was with Agent Fury was fake Agent Coulson because the real Agent Coulson calls Fury on the phone. Surely by now the Skrulls should have learned their lesson and just kill the person they're transforming into. So Viz bunked a train, disturbed the passengers, got into a fight with an old lady, damaged city property, and nobody called the police or security or anything. Train just rolled up to the next stop and everyone's all casual like it's just another Tuesday. I swear people were more concerned with what she's wearing. Actually, that's a pretty accurate prediction of the future. Speaking of nonchalance, Fury was unconscious in that car with a dead alien for over a minute before someone said, so that thing that the fake old lady dropped on the train apparently contains some pretty important information. So why was Skrull henchman number 5 carrying it? Matter of fact, why is anybody carrying it? Shouldn't something like that be kept in a safe place? Also, this is apparently the first time Viz has been to C-53, so how would she know to go to an internet cafe to search stuff on the web? Actually, to be fair, it's not a stretch to say they could have internet cafes on Hala, but what really don't add up is, with what money is she paying for all this with? But I gotta give props for Viz using the caps lock button instead of the shift key to emphasize she's not familiar with the keyboard layout. That was nice. So this guy was being a sexist, misogynist creep and Viz steals his motorbike, so yay Viz, you go girl, stick it to the patriarchy. But I have a few questions. Did this dude just leave his keys in the ignition? Or does Viz just know how to hotwire a motor vehicle from a planet she's never been before? Or did she go back to the internet cafe to look up how to hotwire a motorbike? Also, apparently Viz knows how to ride a motor vehicle from a planet she's never been before, even though moments ago she didn't know you can just use a shift key. Or did she go back to the internet cafe and look up how to ride a motorbike too? Because if you're going to be looking up stuff on the web, maybe look up how to use a keyboard as well. Just saying. Also, Viz stole clothes from this shop. Also, where did Viz get changed? And how did Viz move the motorbike from outside the internet cafe to outside the clothes shop, steal clothes, get changed, and nobody thought this was odd behavior? In fact, let me take that back because apparently someone did call the cops about a motorcycle thief that matched their description, and since blonde white girl could literally be anyone in Los Angeles, I think it's safe to assume the description referred to her space outfit as well, which means somebody saw her steal the motorbike and they called the police before she moved the motorbike, stole the clothes, got changed, presumably right in the street, and in that whole time, the cops never showed up? The biker didn't even try to get his bike back? Matter of fact, why is it somebody only called the cops when she stole the motorbike? How is it nobody called the cops when she stole computer time from the internet cafe and then stood outside reading a map, which she probably stole as well? Anyway, Viz enters the Pancho's bar and is immediately hit with memory flashes of her and a woman who hasn't been introduced in the film yet. But it does beg the question, if Viz has been seeing Dr. Lawson's image when she goes to see the Supreme Intelligence, and all that time it never triggered any kind of memory flashes of who Dr. Lawson is to her, yet all it took was one visit to some dive bar and has already seen this other woman, then how exactly is Dr. Lawson the person she most admires? Clearly not. So Fury turns up and gives the bartender a look, which the bartender takes to mean he should leave. But why? Fury doesn't show his ID or say who he is, just turns up, stands behind the bar, next to the cash register. Why is the bartender leaving? Seems like a terrible way to run a business. Veers wants to confirm that Fury is Fury and not fake Skrull Fury. Fury suggests jokingly if she wants his AOL password, and Veers says that the Skrulls can only sim recent memories. So, assuming Fury sets up his AOL account more than recent memories ago, that would actually be a good way to check if he's real. But to be fair, Veers doesn't know when Fury sets up his AOL account, so instead she asks him about his life. And considering they just met today, she has no idea if any of that is true either. So Fury takes someone he just met today, a person who is unable to verify who she is, to a classified government facility. There's no way this guy's ever going to get promoted above agent. Fury tells Veers to lose the flannel, and Veers takes off the flannel shirt she had around her waist and threw it in the car. Thing is, Veers is Kree, so would she really know what flannel is? Or did she read the label on her clothes before she stole them? After Fury tried the thumb scanner in the room that they were locked in and it didn't work for him, Veers got up and tried the thumb scanner herself. Why? Veers is in a building she has no clearance for on a planet she just arrived on that day. Why are you trying the thumb scanner? Are you dumb?
What's your name, huh? What's your name? Goose.
So Fury likes furries? Okay. When Fury is about to unwrap the lifted thumbprint to access the records room, Veers blasts the lock with her photon thingy. Which, although quicker, wouldn't that draw unnecessary attention to yourself? I mean, even if nobody heard it, one would assume a classified government facility has alerts that go off when a room is broken into. Keller referred to Fury as Nicholas, which is what let Fury know that Keller was actually a Skrull, since everybody calls him Fury. Not Nicholas, not Joseph, not Nick, just Fury. But Veers said the Skrull can only access recent memories, so if nobody calls him Nicholas, then why would the name Nicholas be a recent memory for Keller? And even if the Skrull were able to dive deeper into Keller's mind, surely they won't find many, if any, instances of Keller using the name Nicholas in reference to Fury. In any case, fake Keller should have known better. Veers and Fury steal a jet and fly it away, but why would the exit hatch be open? I mean, one would assume that a classified government facility would require various stages of authorization before they let jets leave the compound. So when Monica Rambeau shows Veers all the things she's kept, it helps Veers to understand that she's not really Veers, she's really Auntie Carol. It's a sweet moment, but is no one concerned that a grown woman gave a 5-year-old personal photos of herself? That's bare suspect. So I guess Veers being an earthling all along is supposed to explain why she just knew to go to an internet cafe or just knew how to ride a motorbike because it's some deep subconscious memory. But no, I don't think so. This woman stole a Game Boy. And yeah, I know Game Boy wasn't released until 1989, so maybe that came after she disappeared, but she would have at least seen the name Nintendo, and clearly she is a gamer, so if that didn't open the floodgates of memories, nothing short of Doctor Strange doing some mind magic will. Anyway, Maria Rambeau has a necklace that says Monica in case she forgets her own daughter's name. That's actually a pretty good idea, to be honest. Also, Auntie Carol said to Talos that the last time they talked she ended up hanging from her ankles, to which Talos replies, "That was before I knew who you were." So they really didn't get anything from so long, we're just digging around in random people's brains. Well, that's that mystery solved. Monica wants her mother to go to space and fight the good fight and tells her she has an opportunity to fly the coolest mission in the history of missions and you're gonna give it up to sit on the couch and watch the Fresh Prince with me? And honestly, I'd rather sit on the couch and watch the Fresh Prince. Maria should have stayed home. This is another sweet scene when Monica helps Auntie Carol decide on her new colors. But where did Auntie Carol get that spacesuit from? Because she didn't have it when she stole the bike and clothes, and if she did, she definitely didn't have it when Fury took her to the classified government facility, or when they stole the jet and flew out of the facility, or when they got to Maria's place. So Wagwan. Also, how did Monica know how to use the wrist panel to change the suit colors? I mean, the first few could be put down to just messing around and seeing what happens, but the last one was a deliberate choice. So Wagwan. So apparently the reason why Veers bleeds blue is because she had a blood transfusion and it was actually Yon Rock that gave her his blood. But for her to bleed blue, wouldn't they have to drain all the blood from her body first to avoid it going purple? And I ain't no scientific vagarist or whatever, but I'm pretty sure draining someone's entire body of blood would just kill them. Let's say they drained all her blood and replaced it with blue blood just in the nick of time. Then wouldn't the excessive blood loss just kill Yon-Rogg? Now granted, I'm sure Kree bodies work different from human bodies, but anything that has blood needs blood, so Yon-Rogg should be dead. Also, I guess the Kree kept Veers alive because they knew she was the key to finding the energy core. Okay, well instead of training her to be a top soldier and sending her on missions, wouldn't it have been better to keep her locked away in secret and brainwash/hypnotize her into being completely under their control until they can figure out how to get what they want? Just saying, this whole movie could have been like 10 minutes. Max. Also, if the Kree were able to change things deeper down in Auntie Carol's subconscious so that even when she dreams she bleeds blue and sees a Skrull instead of Yon-Rogg, surely they could have found out about Dr. Lawson a long time ago. This movie should have been over before it started. Fury asks Talos if he can turn into a cat. Talos replies, "What's a cat?" But when they were in Maria's house and Talos got freaked out by Goose, Auntie Carol said,
"The cat?"
And Talos said, "That's not a cat. That's a flurkin." So, if he knows it's not a cat, then surely he knows what a cat is. And even if he didn't, by the fact that Auntie Carol referred to Goose as a cat, that he clearly heard, then he should at least know what the entity that humans refer to as a cat is, and as such, know if it's something he can turn into or not. Also, Maria asks Talos if he can turn into a filing cabinet, and Talos replied, "Why would I turn into a filing cabinet?" Which really doesn't answer the question. Also, the cat was a stowaway when they flew out of the classified government facility, so why take it into space with them? Shouldn't they have left Goose with Monica on Earth? Once Yon-Rogg and the boys got a Tesseract, there was no good reason to keep Auntie Carol alive. Like, why are they making her see the Supreme Intelligence? Just shoot her in the back of the head and be done with it. This movie could have been like an hour 30. Max. Now we gotta sit through the girl power scene and watch Auntie Carol keep getting up after getting knocked down just to show how determined she is. But if she's so determined, then why isn't she smiling? Riddle me that, Batman. Besides, you know when movies do that thing where some non-human character says something like, "You're only human," as a put down? And then it's all like, "Yeah, but that means it's about drive, it's about power." And it's like, bro, at what point is Hollywood gonna realize that humans aren't the only ones with grit, determination, and a belief in what's right? All these alien races, far more technologically advanced, culturally advanced, I think they have determined people too. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying, it don't make us special. Which brings it back to, Yon-Rogg should have slit her throat when they got their Tesseract. Failing that, the Supreme Intelligence should have caused her brain to melt. Failing that, when Korev saw she was trying to break out, they all should have shot her dead there and then. These guys supposed to be the bad guys? Come on, man. Anyway, so the cat that stowed away with them that they should have left back on Earth turns out to really be a flurkin that can swallow a Tesseract whole. Well, that's convenient. After Yon-Rogg and the boys didn't kill Auntie Carol when they had the chances, Auntie Carol beat them all up. Gee, maybe you shouldn't train a superpowered enemy with amnesia to be one of your top fighters while creating scenarios that enable her to find out you've been using her all along.
Don't make me do this.
Ha! Do what? This guy ain't done nothing for the whole movie. We're supposed to believe he can handle her? Please. After they return to Earth and Auntie Carol single ladies the warheads and sends Ronan packing, she sends Yon-Rogg back with a message for the Supreme Intelligence. It's actually a pretty cool scene, and I especially likes when Auntie Carol blasts Yon-Rogg and tells him she has nothing to prove to him, because why risk everything in a fist fight with the guy that literally trained you when you can shoot fireworks out your hands? This ain't the time to be letting your ego get in the way. Auntie Carol made the right call. The movie ends with the real story behind Nick Fury's missing eye, Auntie Carol agreeing to help the Skrull find a new home, and also giving Fury an intergalactic pager in case of emergencies. And not only did Auntie Carol remember she's human, she also remembered she has black friends. There's a mid-credit scene with Auntie Carol coming back from space to break into the Avengers HQ, and then a post-credit scene with Goose vomiting out the Tesseract. Alright, so before I get into my final thoughts, if you liked this movie, check out these movies. They're all films where a main character starts out as one of the bad guys and then ends up being one of the good guys, except for the Fast and the Furious. He actually starts out as being one of the good guys and ends ends up being one of the bad guys. So let's talk about Captain Marvel, because this ended up being a pretty polarizing movie when it came out. Well, even before it came out, to be honest. But let's keep it real. The reactions it got had nothing to do with the actual film, because the actual film is pretty solid. I mean, sure, there's bits that don't quite add up and some parts are just downright dumb, but that's literally every Marvel movie ever, and most other movies to boot. The overall package had a tight story that fits into the cinematic universe. It was also a complete story that doesn't depend on the viewers seeing a million other Marvel films to understand it, but also has a few cool nods if you have seen a million other Marvel films. The action was big but never gratuitous, all the characters had clear motivations, and it's clear in its messaging about ego, pride, and wanting to believe you're on the right side even though you might not be. Objectively, this is a good movie. Now, of course, just because a movie does most things right, that doesn't mean you have to like it, but like I said, let's keep it all the way real. The reason some people didn't like this movie had nothing to do with the movie and everything to do with not liking Brie Larson. I mean, when you have people legit complaining that Captain Marvel doesn't smile enough in the promotional trailer, it's like, is you stupid or is you dumb? Now, I've already made a video talking about this, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, so I'll just say for now that Brie Larson told zero lies. None. Nada. Not a one. Everything she said at that award show about A Wrinkle in Time was spot on. And also, what Brie Larson said about her press days and being interviewed by mostly white men. How are you gonna get mad at somebody talking about their own personal experiences? If it's important to her that she's interviewed by a group of people that are more racially, socially, and genderly diverse, then of course she's going to advocate for that. I think one of the issues here, and perhaps even the main issue, is that a lot of times people feel entitled to things, and sometimes even feel entitled to other people. Not everything is made for you. Not everything exists to please you. People are allowed to advocate for things that don't include you, and that's okay. But if your criticism of this film is something like, Brie Larson's acting is too stiff, or there was no character development, then I already know you're full of shit, because Brie Larson had a lot of physical and emotional range in this movie, and all the characters, or at least all the main characters, went through some kind of development. So allow it, fam, allow it. And if in big 2022 you're still saying things like, this is by far the worst MCU movie, bro, have you seen Eternals? But that's what I think of Captain Marvel. What do you think of Captain Marvel? Let me know down below, and while you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a suggestion if you don't mind.